What's up, Doors? It's Mahogany Doors. And it's time for the Toronto Film Festival 2019 Roundup. I'm going to do it the same way I did last year's video, where I rank from, worst to best, all the stuff I saw. I think this is a great year for movies. Anyway, let's get right into the list. Okay, so at number 9, we got The Truth. It's this movie by this Japanese director called Hirokazu Kurita. And he directed this movie called Shoplifters last year, which I thought was, pretty good. I didn't put it on my best of the year list, but I thought it was like a pretty lively and interesting movie, which is what it had going for it. This movie, however, feels kind of disappointing because it's pretty dull in a lot of aspects. And that sort of, energy, that liveliness that Shoplifters has is kind of lost on me. And I think part of it is some sort of lost in translation kind of thing with the directing, because he is a Japanese director, but this movie's in French with French actors, and they're speaking French. And Kurita doesn't speak French, so we needed to get an interpreter on set with him. Obviously, that doesn't mean that any movie directed like that can't be good. It just means that I think that may have been a contributing factor to why this movie feels kind of disjointed. And on the whole, the story just doesn't feel that interesting the way it's presented. Like, it tries to get you to care about it a lot more than it's sort of worth. And I was just kind of uninterested the whole time. Okay, at number 8, we've got a movie called A Hidden Life. This is the new movie by Terrence Malick. He's done The Tree of Life, some other stuff that people like. This is the first movie I've seen from him. And it feels weird putting it on this list, like, right next to The Truth, because The Truth I didn't like. But this movie is like, I don't know, like a 7 out of 10. It's pretty enjoyable. The biggest strength of this movie is that it's just beautiful. Terrence Malick's known for his very, like, dreamy, big cinematography style. And this movie's no exception. It's just, like, lots of beautiful wides, landscapes, angles. The problem I have with it is that it feels like it's got a lot of pacing issues. The movie's 3 hours, and, long movies can be good, but they have to justify their pace to me. And it sort of felt like he was taking his sweet time to get to each point. And as beautiful as it was, and as beautiful as this length gave you time to, like, soak up how visually interesting the movie was, it also left me feeling like, okay, when's it going to get there? And that's not something you really want the audience feeling during a movie, obviously. But, regardless, this movie's beautiful. It was a bit emotional at the end, actually. It was very potent. The story is pretty interesting. It's about, like, how do you say that word? Conscientious objector? Anyway, it's about a conscientious objector during World War II, and he doesn't want to fight for the Germans. And it's a pretty interesting story. Okay, at number 7, we have the new movie by Taika Waititi, Jojo Rabbit. This movie won the Audience Award at Tiff, and it was pretty great. It was pretty hilarious. There's some really funny scenes. This had me laughing, like, really hard a few times. It's also very, nicely presented. All the shots are very, calculated. It has like a Wes Anderson-y vibe, but it doesn't feel like a total ripoff. It definitely feels like a Taika Waititi movie. It has its comedy. If you love his comedy, you'll probably find this movie pretty funny too. I'm kind of surprised, but also kind of not surprised how divisive this movie's been with critics, because, on the one hand, I kind of understand, but I also disagree that this movie is problematic, because I really don't think it is. I think he handles it well. It gets its point across pretty well. It's pretty heartwarming. It's pretty nice. It's just a nice watch. Honestly, if you love Taika's movies, you'll definitely love this. At number 6, we have a movie called Sorry We Missed You. Now, this is a new movie by Ken Loach. He's made lots of movies. He's sort of a veteran filmmaker. And this movie is just It's just heart-wrenching, honestly. This is probably the most depressing movie I saw at the festival, and I saw some pretty pretty depressing movies. And the thing about this movie that makes it so depressing is just how real it is. Like, this doesn't feel like fiction. There was a point when I was watching this movie where I was like, these people are actors. I'm watching actors right now. I'm watching a movie. And before that, I just thought this was like real people being filmed. Like, obviously I knew it was a movie, but it just felt so realistic that I just accepted the world of the movie. And it's just so just tough and a hard watch, and a bit of a wholesome story here. I was sitting next to this old woman, and we were both, crying a bit by the end. She gave me a hug at the end. It was kind of wholesome, kind of a wholesome experience. Made me feel a bit better because the movie made me a bit sad. But it's really great, and you should definitely check it out especially if you love Ken Loach's other movies. Okay, at number 5, we have a movie called Marriage Story. This is the new movie by Noah Baumbach. This guy directed Squid and the Whale, Frances Ha. I love Frances Ha. And this new movie is really great. I feel like this is, out of all the movies I saw at the festival, this is the one that's going to go straight for the Oscars, just because of how clear it is. Every aspect is just so honed down. The script, the performances, Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. Adam Driver might be taking the Oscar for this one, gotta be honest. There's a scene where just the acting caliber of these two actors just like going at each other, because this is a movie about divorce and there's some pretty intense arguments in the movie. And that scene was just, it finished and I was like, it was, chills, honestly. It's such a potent movie. And I can't really think of any scene like that this year. And the script makes it clear that this is sort of a two-sided movie. The movie tells it from both characters' perspectives. And you might have seen this if you saw that they released 2 trailers. One of them was her story, his story, and it gives you a good look at, both characters' sort of stance on how the relationship's played out, why it's coming to an end. And I think that sort of layeredness and understanding of the script and us combined with the performance and the direction is going to make it probably end up on a lot of people's top 10 list for the end of the year, and probably mine too, because it was pretty great. At number 4, we have a movie called Waves. This is the new movie by Trey Edward Schultz. I haven't seen his other movies, but I'm looking forward to it. He made a movie called It Comes at Night, one called Krisha. His new movie, it's very focused towards, life in 2019, especially teenage life. And I feel like it really hit the nail on the head compared to a lot of movies where it feels so phoned in, like how it's treating teenagers, and you can tell it's just written by like an out-of-touch adult. This movie gets it. And I feel like in like a decade I could watch this and be a total like time capsule for like, I don't know, like 2019, 2018, like late 2010s, whatever this era is going to be remembered as. This movie is going to encapsulate it. And this movie might be a bit much for people with sensory issues, because a lot of it is very intense, especially the visually. Like there's spinning shots, there's like lots of like strobe lighting in certain points, and I wasn't expecting that from this movie. It's very visually interesting, and I really like the direction it took, actually, and especially how it plays with aspect ratios, and the editing's very bold. This movie makes a lot of sort of risky choices, and I think they paid off incredibly, because this movie's very, very engrossing and interesting to follow, and I was never disengaged or waiting for the next thing to happen. And the pacing was incredible. All the performances were just top of the line, especially the 2 leads. I can't remember their names right now, but this movie hits you just like waves of energy and emotion, and just washes you up, and it's like feeling, and you're totally along for the ride. And the soundtrack choices are also very interesting. It's got Kendrick Lamar, Kanye West, Radiohead, Frank Ocean, lots of that kind of stuff. I think this movie will mean a lot to a lot of people, especially teenagers in high school. And for that alone, I think this movie is very important. And as a movie, it's also just incredibly crafted and performed. So I would definitely recommend you check this out when it comes out. Number 3 is Uncut Gems. This is the new movie by the Safdie brothers. The Safdie brothers made Good Time, and Good Time is Good Time. That movie is Robert Pattinson. That movie is a panic attack. The Safdie brothers are really good at making panic attack movies. They're known for their close-up shots. They're yelling, and their intense direction and pace, and never letting you catch a breath. Uncut Gems is no exception to the rule. I'd say Good Time is more consistently anxiety-inducing, but the peaks of Uncut Gems, I was like biting my nails. I was like on the edge of my seat and just completely tensed up. This movie is off the walls. This movie left me with like a weird adrenaline high for like an hour after I watched it. It's just so fast-paced and exciting and interesting. Adam Sandler plays the lead role, and he's great. It's like almost about as good as his Punch Drunk Love performance. He plays this total like sleazebag who's so sort of like slimy, but also charismatic in a weird way, and you're just sort of rooting for him the whole time. And nothing ever goes his way, and there's so many scenes in this movie that are just so visually interesting. Like, there's a scene in, like, a weekend performance, and then, like, fluorescent lights come on. Someone's wearing an orange, like, sweatshirt, and it's lit up, like, totally orange in the crowd of blue light, and that's the character that we're focusing on. It's very, like, well planned out, very well blocked, very well coordinated. The Safdie brothers know what they're doing, and I think they're a pretty strong voice in new independent cinema. I think I like this more than Good Time. This movie's just off the walls. It's like it's sensory overload. I know I said that about Waves. Waves was like visually sensory overload. This movie is auditory sensory overload. Like Adam Sandler, he starts shouting, and then 4 other people start shouting, and then everybody's shouting at each other, and then the camera's moving really quickly, and then the score's like, it's like you're really watching, like, what is happening? Insane movie. I've got a bit of predicament here, ladies and gentlemen, because for the number 2, number 1 slots, I've been going back and forth. They're both like 10 out of 10 movies. They're both top of the decade kind of stuff. And if you're gonna take away, one movie from this video to watch both of these. So, that being said, I think after thinking for a long and hard time, I'm going to make it a tie between both movies. So, the first one is The Lighthouse. This is the new movie by Robert Eggers. This movie is a horror movie. His last movie was a horror movie. They're both period movies. This last movie was The Witch, and that was set in like New England in like the 1600s. It's very Brothers Grimm fairy tale, disturbing kind of, creepy but not like jump scare horror kind of thing. This is the same sort of vibe, except it's 1800s lighthouse keepers stranded. Not stranded, but it's just them. It's a two-hander, Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, and the movie just slowly develops this sort of insanity. It just gets crazier and crazier. It's smaller than Academy ratio. It's like 1 by 13, I think. It's something weird. It's not quite a square though, and it's shot on black and white 35mm film, and the production is insane. It is shot on an island in Nova Scotia. They built the whole lighthouse and all the sets and stuff just for the movie, and the weather, a lot of it is real. This shot right here, the director said in the Q&A, was real weather they're experiencing on the island, which is crazy. And the performances are all so honed in. Willem Dafoe better at least get nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this one, and I fear this movie won't get that much awards recognition because of how sort of unconventional it is, and usually they don't like sort of genre movies like horror movies anyway at the Oscars, but I hope it does, especially Willem Dafoe, and especially the cinematography of this movie, because they're both top of the year kind of stuff. And the way the events unfold in this movie are just so fun and visceral and exciting. This movie just left the entire audience just thrilled, and just everyone at the end was like, whoa, oh my god, everyone's hyped by how good this movie was. Some guy asked a question, but he was so excited he couldn't even get a question out to the director. He was just like, you sir made a fucking masterpiece. And then a bunch of people clapped, and then they moved on to the next person. So, that's a valid question, but it just goes to show how just enrapturing of a force this movie is. And you should definitely see it in theaters when it comes out, because the sound design is very oppressive. There's this sound that the Lighthouse makes, like this, I don't know, it's like a siren or something. It's like, it's in the trailer. And you hear that so much, it's like ingrained into your skull, and it's just all around you. So definitely see this one in the theater, and just let it overwhelm you like it did for me. And the next one in this two-way tie for first place is Parasite by Bong Joon-ho, which is incredible. I think from a script writing perspective, this might be my favorite script of the year. It's really sharply directed. The performances are incredible, but what really made this movie special is how entertaining the script is, how fun it is to just watch these events unfold, and how unexpected everything is. This movie is one of the rare ones where it appeals to both critics and audiences, and is a masterpiece on pretty much all fronts. This is a movie, a foreign movie, a Korean movie, for people who don't typically like foreign movies or are up to watching things with subtitles, just because of how accessible it is, but it doesn't sacrifice accessibility because it's also simultaneously a very complex and fascinating movie to watch. It works on so many levels, and it's so engaging and exciting, and some of the best and probably one of my favorite scripts I've seen in the decade. South Toronto Film Festival 2019. If you went to any film festivals or saw any of these movies and you have opinions on them, or saw any other movies, just leave it in the comments down below. I'd recommend all these movies except for The Truth. Don't watch that movie. And especially The Lighthouse and Parasite. Watch those next month because they come out in theaters next month. Watch Marriage Story too, because that one comes out on Netflix. That'll be easier to watch. Watch these movies. They deserve your money. Like Uncut Gems. I really hope they're successful, so I see more things like it. Anyway, that is all Doors. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Mahogany Doors. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, so you get notified of the next videos in the future. That is all. Stay closed, Doors, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.